Red Fox finally exposes the truth about Nancy Culp. John O'Roy Sanford was born on St. Louis, Missouri, on December 9, 1922, Missouri. Grew up on the south side of Fox, had a hard time in Chicago. Reality of racism and poverty at a nearly on, which would later help him a funny style that is bold and direct. He quit school in the 10th grade and started acting in clubs, eventually making a name for himself in an time when there weren't many chances for black, there weren't many performers. In Red Fox became famous in the 1940s and 1950s, renowned as a performer on the Chitlin circuit, visiting black clubs all throughout the country and developing an own style of raw, often rude jokes that were thought to be appropriate for most people. He rapidly became known for Bane's Best Party Records, putting out more than 50 funny CDs full of uncensored content that turned him into a cult popular with adults. These records, even though they are underground, made his name as a funny person and inventor and truth-teller who talked candidly about race, sex, and class in ways that few people dared. With Namasai who have to wash like laugh of the party or but, and I haven't lied yet, his albums sold millions of copies even though to graphic for regular radio. These recordings were groundbreaking. They helped break down racial boundaries in the entertainment business and made it possible for comedians of the future, like Richard Pryor, Chris Rock, and Eddie Murphy. Fox Red wasn't just making jokes. He was changing what humor means for a new generation. Fox's big break into the public eye came in 1972, and he was given the role of a wisecracking garbage merchant who is always angry Fred G. Sanford in the show Sanford and Son's American version of the British sitcom Steptoe and Son. The show Matabee Norman Lear first aired at a time of big changes in society and swiftly became a famous TV show. Sanford and Son not only got good ratings, but also made history by focusing about a black family that works for a living, very rare event during primetime television from that time. Red Fox's characterization Fred Sanford with his over-the-top coming Elizabeth, heart attacks, quick wit and insults and banter with his son Lamont, who was played by Demon Wilson, made him famous and gave him a dedicated fan base from many cultures. Fox was praised behind the scenes and for his fiery nature. He was both praised and condemned. Its demand for fair treatment in Los Angeles. He often had problems with the network executives about creative control and fair pay, blazing apathy for other black performers to want more rights and better representation. His position on labor disputes and receipt got this because of unfairness in the industry, esteem from his peers and civil rights supporters. After Sanford and Son ended in 1977, Fox stayed busy in TV and film and being in series like The Red the Royal Family and Fox Comedy Hour. None of them were as successful as she's first sitcom. He kept going doing stand-up comedy and taking on different jobs that showed off his long-lasting charm and timing in comedy. He also helped guide and motivate the next generation of comics like Richard Pryor and Eddie Murphy, who both gave him a lot of credit for being a big impact in their jobs. Red Fox is famous for his incisive wit and cutting-edge comedy lead a life that is both bright and complicated as his public image. Over the course of he was married 4 times during his lifetimes, and each marriage showing a separate part of his adventure. From young hope to profound desperable betrayal in a romantic relationship, and finally, redemptive friendship. Evelyn Kebrew was his first wife. In 1948, a union that happened during the first days of Fox's career when he was continue working hard at clubs and trying hard to make a name for himself as a performer for a living. Not much is known about their courtship or how their partnership works, but Bythe's marriage ended in 1951, just 3 years later, had ended in a divorce. This short and early marriage probably happened at the same time as Fox's years of being unstable and wanting more when the road's demands and the money problems of show industry made it possible to live at home hard. Fox's second marriage, but it was much more important both in both personal and professional ways. In July, married Betty Jean Harris on May 5, 1956, a beautiful and accomplished showgirl and a dancer who is well known in the industry for her charm and grace in circles. It's interesting that Betty worked with Londa Page, the lady who would later recognized for playing Aunt Esther on Fox Bible-wielding enemy on Sanford and Son. Fox and Harris met Willie a nightclub show where they were seen on same bill. A sign of how close they erected and twisted the black and turton circuit was at that time. Their love grew swiftly, and they got married not long after they met. What? made their marriage so wonderful stood out was Betty Jean's willingness giving up her own career. As part off because they both agreed, she chose Toliev show business completely, making it her goal to become a full-time housewife and businesswoman part. This wasn't just for me, sacrifice. It was a smart move, partnership. Betty was in charge of Red Fox Enterprises, which runs a lot of his mini empire. This includes running Fox's record stores in Los Angeles, a business that added to his income and kept his brand strong outside of TV. She also acted like a mother to Fox family when he took in her daughter, Drasa, from a relationship that ended. Dra took on the last name Fox and Waspy. Several reports he was treated like his own daughter, at least for a while. Sadly, after over 20 years, this union started to break up because of Fox's cheating was too much for them. In 1974, their relationship got worse, which made them angry and republicized breakup. Fox sent in for divorce in May of that year, saying not being able to get along, a vague word that hid the emotional trouble under the surface. Lawful filings showed a deeper level of distrust and stress. Fox got a restraining order to keep Harris from taking away or hiding anything from their house in Las Vegas. The fight over Harris's holdings got so valuable that old to give back $110,000 that they said had been removed from their financial accounts that they share. The scars on the hardware clear, so much so that Fox even missed DeBrass's wedding in 1975, a move that showed lingering anger or pain that hasn't been dealt with. Not scared off by the past, Fox got married after going through heartbreak. Third time, this time with Joy Eunice married Chung on December 31 Street, 1976 at a fancy ceremony at the Thunderbird Hotel in Las Vegas. Joy was about 20 years younger than Fox and came from South Korea at first. She had only recently come to the US lately and was working as a cocktail waitress at the Las Vegas Hilton when worked as a waitress at the Las Vegas Hilton when she and Fox got together. The relationship changed quickly, ending in a high-profile wedding on New Year's Eve, but even while beautiful environment and happy event, there was a lot of fighting in the marriage. In the month of October 1979, Fox asked for a divorce. Not to be Joy filed a counter-action to get back at them, claiming cruelty, a criminal crime that ended at major trouble behind closed doors. During an interview with Jet magazine, the end of this marriage, Fox sounded disappointed. "I've been married 3 times, and I'm out," he said, showing that he wanted to give up on marriage for good. Hesitate more about the money he was spending money on divorce settlements would have been better spent on kids. He was upset because it should go to the kids and not to some dude, probably a reference to alimony going to ex-wives who might have gotten married again. In 1981, the divorce was final. It cost a lot of money. Fox agreed to a $300,000 settlement, which is another punch to his already shaky financial situation. Even though he promised Fox's heart had never been married again. One more chapter to go. He married Kaho Cho in July 1991, woman from Seoul, South Korea, marking his last and 4th marriage. The Tuamet at Bal's Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas, where Cho worked. Not like his past relationships, which often started in the spotlight and finished under public scrutiny. This union was based on loyalty and support for each other, especially amid one of the worst times. Fox's life was hard at times. His fights with IRS, which had almost left him broke. Cho stayed with him throughout, giving both emotional and help with logistics. In an interview with Jet, Fox told him why he did an unexpected choice to get married again even though he had been let down before. "She saw me holding a coin and hoped she will see me with $1. I'll give 75 cents of it to her." His words caught the mix of comedy, humility, and hope that distinguished his later years' relationship. They got married at the Little Church of the West in Las Vegas, a place that is well known for famous weddings and parties. After that, there was a reception at the Hyundai, the hotel. This last marriage would last until Fox died too soon in 1991, making Kaho Cho the woman who would be with him in his last days. Fans and critics alike were startled when people who work in the sector and people who don't know Red Fox well know for his cutting wit and lack of filters. Finally, Kander talked about his long thought to be in a relationship with actress Nancy Culp, is best known for playing Miss Jane Hathaway on the Beverly People from the Hills. For years, people had talked about kind of friendship they have. Some even talking about a hidden fight or an alliance that wasn't planned. But Fox, who was never one to be clear, set the record straight in an interview that would subsequently become infamous in the world of TV. With he smiled slyly and had a sparkle in his eye, shown that behind their very different public images, diverse public images, his as the Joker who speaks their mind and pushes boundaries from Sanford and Son, and hers as the prim, good, smart character unknown of the most popular sitcoms in the US. There was a respect between them that had been made in the early days of their jobs. Fox told the story of how he first met Nancy Culp in the late 1950s, not on a soundstage or red carpet, but in a quiet not on a stage or red carpet, but in a quiet a Hollywood diner that character often goes tokers, vaudevillians, and those who are having a hard time funny people. He said it was during one of those late night times following show hangs that they started and likely talk about the ridiculousness of show business and the industry tried to place stiff boxes on them in. He liked Culp's dry sense of humor and smart humor, and she in turn liked how brave he was and how he wouldn't give in to meet anyone's expectations but his own. What started off as a casual relationship quickly grew into a strong, if strange, friendship, one built in mutual respect and a common knowing what it meant to be those who are different from them. Fox brushed off the interview rumors that were sometimes dirty spread via tabloids, hinting at romantic tension or anger. Nancy, no, we were never romantically involved, he added with a laugh. She was just too elegant for Ash was a rascal like me, but she was real, honest and humorous in a manner that most people don't ever seen. He said Culp was a sharp, intelligent person that could stand up for herself in any talk, whether it's about politics, philosophical, or funny. Fox said that he often asked her for advice while getting around in the intricate world of TV networks, notably during his fights with censors and the studio bosses. Just tell her, she'd urge, tell the truth, but do it with a smile, and that always stuck with me. Fox also showed that Culp had defended him behind the scenes when other people were unwilling to work with a performer that was renowned for his routines that caused a lot of debate. During a really tense time in the early network executives questioned in the 1970s perhaps Sanford and Son would be too dangerous for most people. Culp supposedly composed a subtle but strong letter to a high-ranking NBC official praising Fox's genius and insistence that television needed people like him to make things different. Fox, clearly upset, Ash told this story and stated, "She never told she told me she did it. I first learned about it years later. That's the kind of person she was. No fanfare, no spotlight, just grace." Fox's story may have been the most moving part of it. His admission that he was a big revelation, modeled some sections of Fred Sanford's character after persons he knew who had shocked him, people who didn't fit mold but left a mark. Nancy Culp has stated, was one of them. She was like a southern woman with a sharper mind than a knife with a switchblade. It didn't matter that she played a stiff on TV off camera. She wasn't as tight as I am at a jazz club. By exposing the truth about Nancy Culp, Fox not only broke the myth about their relationship, but also made it look like two people were stars that are opposite each other but are joined by honesty, supporting each other, and loving the craft. It was a reminder that the fun world, which is often motivated by ego and looks, sometimes made room for real, lasting friendships that went against expectations. And at that one-of-a-kind moment in all honesty, Fox displayed a gentler, more thoughtful side, one that recognized the people who had assisted him along even when they weren't in the spotlight. Them, on the afternoon of October 11, 1991, read. Fox was on the set of his new Royal Family is a sitcom that was made to celebrate his famous return of. The show was made in part made by Eddie Murphy to show off Fox's unique mix of cutting humor and physical comedy while putting him with another veteran of TV, Delore, in a family with people from different generations, but what was meant to be a Fox would have a creative resurgence if sadly it would be his last project. That day, the actors and crew were at a Fox, who was always talking with an interesting individual. A reporter for Entertainment Tonight, Delore, who was there, said that during the event, the scene that was not scheduled to be practiced next to and prepared. But nevertheless, a producer who subsequently said had fought with Fox came over a few times and suddenly stopped the interview. It is said that the producer had a fight with Fox. In the past. He even said he could show Fox how to be hilarious. a statement that a lot of people who knew Red thought ridiculous, if not rude, given Fox's famous sense of humor and decades-long impact on American funny. Fox was angry, but he was still brought back to the set, even though he sole part in the next scene was just walking across the stage behind he didn't have any lines to say, so he sat in a chair, clearly upset and maybe even angry. Fox was upset because of the ongoing hostility, did his modest role in the scene, but as soon as he was done with the relocation, he abruptly fell down on the set. Thought initially, there was no need to hurry, among others who were watching. In fact, a lot offlawed or sat back and observed, thinking Fox was doing one of his normal things. This was the guy who for years, Fred had made people laugh. Sanford, on Sanford and Son, a lot of the time holding his chest and sobbing out, "This is the big one, Elizabeth," fake heart attacks that are funny and dramatic. He's been good at physical comedy, and well-timed pratfalls were so convincing that even his co-workers were tricked at that important moment, but Dolores quickly figured out there was something very wrong. Fox didn't get up. The funny part of her went away expression as she hurried to his side. Kneeling, she listened carefully and heard him say whispered, "Get my wife," a painfully human plea that he made over and over twice. Knowing how serious it was of the moment, called for right-away medical help in an emergency. The seriousness of the situation started to sink in across the set, and a feeling of incredulity flooded the air. Weekly Entertainment later, journalist Joshua Rich wrote a booth event with a cold sensation. "Oh, it's funny. It was such an ironic finale that for a brief moment, the cast thought Fox was host TV character in the 1970s often pretended coronaries was joking when he snatched a chair and tumbled to the ground." The line caught the bizarre heartbreak of flosing a man who was a comic genius for so long was about pretending to die of a heart attack just to be taken by a real one on the set. Paramedics rushed Fox to Queen of Angels Hollywood Presbyterian Medical Place, where physicians fought to save his life. He came back to life for a short while, however his health stayed quite bad. Even though medical professionals did its best, but 4.5 hours later, Fox was declared dead. Later, a loss that broke fans and the entertainment world all throughout the world. He was 68 years old. Not only did he die, but it also signaled the end of a life that was amazing and the end off of one of the most creative and funny voices that aren't censored. Fox had spent his life pushing the limits, racial, social, and funny, with a lot of truth and not being afraid. His friends and family were really sad when he died. Performers, especially Eddie Murphy, who had both worked with and admired Fox. Murphy had thought of him as more than just a teacher and one of the funniest people, most human folks he had ever met. Onsa saying that Red Fox was the funniest guy he'd ever met, a man who could make other people awe without even trying. In the days after he died, there was talk on how to respect Fox's secretly honoring his legacy. In the end, Eddie Murphy himself stepped in to cover pay for everything at the funeral and make sure that his friend got the respectful goodbye he deserved. Fox was buried at Palm Memorial Park or Palm Eastern, Las Vegas, Nevada, where he lived and had loved and worked in for a long time as a stand-up comedian. His real name, John, is on his gravestone, Roy Sanford, and it commemorates the distinct grave of a comedian who paved the way for others affected several generations of actors and actresses from Richard Pryor to Chris Rock, and who stayed a strong, unyielding presence to the very end of his life.